You're listening to the Vacation Rental Key with T&T, the podcast for vacation rental managers by vacation rental managers. I'm Tim Cafferty, and I manage two companies, one in Virginia and one in North Carolina. And I'm one of the two T's.
And I'm the other T, Tiffany Edwards, born and raised in the vacation rental business. I help manage our family businesses from Key West all the way to Kauai.
In the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you our keys to success in the vacation rental business. Welcome back to the Vacation Rental Key with T&T, where we unlock the keys to your vacation rental success. I'm Tim.
And I'm Tiffany, and I cannot wait to unpack today's episode.
Unpack, unlock, we're doing it all today. That's right. We're going to talk about personal and professional growth today with several guests joining us by way of a conference you recently attended.
Yeah, that's right, Tim. You know, a lot of the listeners might remember a couple months back, Tim hit the road with his microphone in hand and reported the major keys from the VRMA Foundations Conference in Savannah. But I couldn't let you have all the fun, Tim. And so I decided to attend the Vacation Rental Women's Summit in the capital of the Southern Hospitality District of the city of Charleston, South Carolina.
Should I even ask you if you brought me any pralines?
You know, they never made it out of Charleston, but I seem to remember that yours never made it out of Savannah. So maybe next time. But I did bring you some of the best insights from the conference, from the technology to hospitality. This conference did not disappoint. And I'm really excited because we're here to bring you all of the takeaways.
Well, it's probably best if we start with the definition of what is the Vacation Rental Women's Summit.
Well, that's a great question, Tim. The Vacation Rentals Women's Summit is really a smaller conference. You know, you've been to many conferences by Amy Hinote of VRM Intel. She's excellent at what she does, and she's one of the few in our industry who truly understands from the supplier to the operations side of the business and is able to put these really fantastic conferences together.
Yeah, that's true. Amy's known for asking the hard questions in our industry, but above all else is a huge promoter of continued education and professionalism in this space, notably through her vrmintel.com website.
Yeah, and this conference was no different. She started a year ago to really dissect what the major trends were, what our points of friction were within the industry, and she started analyzing from the personal and professional trends. And then she spent months meeting with presenters to discuss their sessions and coordinate how those messages would best touch on those trends and deliver the best results to the attendees.
I really love how she does that. Many times she will come up with a topic, curate the topic, and then find a presenter who's best to do that. So she really does a good job. But it is the women's conference. Even though this conference caters to women, I can tell you from personal experience and being at one of these, it's not just for women.
No, and you were definitely missed, Tim. Of the few men who do come and attend, we were all wondering where you were. But you're right. The focus is it's not exactly on women. It's more of creating a smaller, more intimate environment where everyone can open up and have really honest dialogue about problems and solutions, no matter what position you hold in the industry. And not to overgeneralize, but as women, sometimes we just end up sharing more. And that was what we experienced here at this conference. One of the new tracks that Amy did this year that I love was this focus on hospitality, but it wasn't the traditional service aspect of hospitality that you usually see in conferences. It was more personalized and intentional with the end goal of creating this meaningful experience.
You know, Amy's got a real knack for delivering the top tier hospitality. Wait, did I hear you say that your swag was personalized?
Oh, yeah. She had every attendee's name on all of our bags. The swag, I tell you what, it's some of the best swag to go to that conference. We got umbrellas, eye patches, Starbucks gift cards, just to name a few. which were fantastic. But this year, Amy extended the idea of hospitality to a business culture. So far beyond just the guest and owner experiences, there were a lot of discussions about building a culture of hospitality within your own team, with your coworkers, and with your employees.
Oh, I love that. So it's not just about how you treat your guest, but how you create a welcoming environment for the people you work with as well, huh?
Yes, I loved it. For example, a lot of attendees from some of the sessions that I joined in on, they celebrated milestones with exclusive dinners. So you had something that you really wanted to participate as a company. And then some others held quarterly awards and recognitions to honor their teams. And then some even took a bolder approach by using the first 90 days with new employees to put them in really tough situations just to see how they could handle the pressure and really grasp what true hospitality looks like. And it was all about testing and nurturing that mindset from the very beginning.
Yeah, we have a good program here about bringing people on board. That first 90 days is critical. You know what you got by the end of the 90 days, but you need to pour into those folks, right? And make sure they're on the right page and they are delivering the hospitality you want. That stuff really gets me excited.
Yeah, I love it. We learned a lot about how to really encourage your heads of the departments and then how that trickles down, but all about that recognition. So it's great advice. But before we dive in into our guests who have even more knowledge to share with us, I do want to take a moment to thank the 2025 Women's Summit Crusader Award winner and our dear friend, Corinne Oki, because if it wasn't for Corinne, we probably wouldn't have an episode, Tim. Truth be told, most of you probably know that I'm not the tech guru of this partnership. And my microphone actually stopped working midway through my first interview, but Corinne got me back up and running.
Many thanks to Corinne and congratulations, Corinne. You're not only a crusader, but you're the MacGyver of our industry, clearly. A well deserved award, a great pal. And I can't think of a better person to receive that, which was presented to her by one of our own crusaders, Sarah Bradford, who swore me to secrecy that I wouldn't talk to anybody about it. But I hear she made a presentation virtually at the conference for that.
Oh, yeah. And, Sarah always delivers. It was hysterical. We were on pins and needles trying to figure out who she was talking about. And then she even came back after the award ceremony to close it up. So it was great to see her on the big screen. And it was great to see several new faces as well. One of them being my new friend, Kirsten King with Curate Telluride.
I come to the Women's Summit. This is actually my third time. I've only missed one. I come because it's so different than all of the other conferences. If you need help with specific things in your business, there's plenty of conferences for that. But for me, it's about the connections and just being inspired by people's stories. And especially as an example, yesterday, Angie Leone with Coconut Condos. I love her story. She's such a beautiful person. Stories like that just make me come back and want to connect with other women and form those connections that are lasting. And that's just so different than honestly the bro club kind of thing.
Well, and it's funny because we're all in the hospitality sector. And this really speaks because I think from most times that I've talked to people that they like the connection aspect, which is so funny because we're in the hospitality world and get so much from it. And we just finished a session and you had some great tidbits in terms of business before sold, starting a new business now and done really well because you've curated all of these homes yourself. What are some of the main points getting across about the keys of hospitality now as you look in this new venture and change from what the business you had before to what you have now?
Yeah, it's just funny getting a second chance to do things is a really interesting perspective because you can look back and model what you hope to have versus building along the way and just coming up against obstacles and trying to solve those things, but instead looking at the whole and deciding what kind of business do you want to design. And for us, it was about leading with relentless generosity. And we set out to do something really different and just connect with nonprofits in the local Telluride community and really be able to support those nonprofits through what we did. And even actually choosing our homeowners who would support that idea and that mission. We're just so blessed to be able to have that group of people to work with.
I love that. And What's one thing that you've learned so far that you know for sure you're going to go back and implement?
I think for me too, it's just that reminder of needing those connections. I get in my own little world and space and reminding myself that there's so much to be gained from these relationships and these connections. And I think it's just not getting in my own little bubble and working away on my little hamster wheel, but instead and just getting out there and connecting with other women.
I love that. I just learned a new term, relentless generosity. But the idea of connections, and when you go to a conference, one of the keys for us is to network with other operators and vendors. It's a rare opportunity to have face-to-face connections and sometimes learn more about the software you're using, but also share about problems and solutions within your business. As she just said, we get our own hamster wheel. And sometimes even you get to share with your local competitors.
Yeah. And you've learned more from some of those local competitors at these conferences than you would ever learn when you're back in the community talking through the business. And Kirsten's a new friend, but someone who's been a family friend of ours since the 80s. My mom went to the VRMA back with Rhonda Sedaris of Park City Lodging back in 1986 or 87. Longtime advocate for the industry. And she and I are still learning and picking up things from each other. She really says it best on that local collaboration.
Co-opetition, which was great because there are some competitors here from Park City, and we have shared so much here at this conference that we don't necessarily share in Park City. Real honest, good hints and tips, takeaways that we're going to use.
What was some of your favorite tips?
The tracking sheet.
Tell me more.
For acquiring new properties.
Okay.
One of the best sessions I went to was the design session.
Okay.
We rate our properties. We used to hire Liza Hogan,
okay,
resort rating specialist out of Colorado, and then she retired. So she taught us how to rate properties. But this is an interior designer who does nothing but vacation rentals. She has a huge team that does vacation rentals. So some of the takeaways from that were like, when you have your holding point or your moving piece of furniture, don't make it fabric, make it leather or wood. It's easier on the housekeepers. And she uses data-driven math to show you, to prove to you that you will increase your revenue. They look for what the top amenities are that people in your area are looking for. Are they looking for 2 bedrooms? They're looking for 6 bedrooms. They're looking for a hot tub, or they're looking for pickleball court. What is it that they're looking for? ADA. And she can prove to you that by you investing, one of them was $700,000 remodel. I don't know.
Whoa.
Yeah, $700,000.
That's a difficult ask for
in the
owner.
First year, they got $135,000 more.
Wow.
With that. So it's a 5-year payback.
That's a pretty good ROI.
Yeah, that's a really good ROI. Yeah, that was really fascinating. I'm going to bring her.
Yeah. So vendor. So getting to know a vendor.
Our software, our PMS.
Yes.
We had an issue with an owner who was using the owner's portal on his phone. He doesn't have, my controller said, well, just use your computer because I don't have a computer. This is my computer, is my phone. Well, you must have kids. Well, you know what? That's the wrong answer. So I went to my PMS and they said, oh, no. We have this app that we didn't know about. And we have a ticket in, we have a support ticket in, but we didn't know about it. But now we have this app that it's a phone use app that he can look at the calendars in a heartbeat. And
wow.
Yeah. So made some good
connections. Because networking is just as important.
And networking is huge.
It was huge. So I actually learned something from you because it wasn't even from a session, but my mom slipped on a few things in one of her sessions. We had a sidebar conversation. And you were telling about you have an in-house concierge program that I want to start looking at for some of our businesses. So tell me more about that.
We have a on-guide concierge, guest guide. We charge $600 for it for all of our partners, the ski resorts, the transportation companies. And we don't have competing. We only have one transportation company. And it's $600. You're allowed to pay half cash, half trade. And we use that trade for incentives for our employees. When they get a shout out, we'll give them a $50 gift certificate to, the Mountain Outfitters or whatever it is, or disgruntled guests. We can send them on a snowshoe. They can have a spa. We can give them a couple $100 in dinner, and it doesn't cost us anything.
No,
it doesn't cost us anything. And what it does is, in addition to creating these partnerships and bringing everything in house, making us the local knowledge, it also, those partners when somebody comes to them and says, oh, I just bought a house. I'm looking for a property manager,
Yeah.
or I hate my property manager. Where should I go? Park City Lodging. We have some vendors that are banging on our door, want to be a partner, but we've made this commitment that we can only have one Mexican restaurant. So we're very protective of those relationships or that competition.
I just had a great idea here. That is a great key. I need a soundbite we can play during the podcast whenever we have a vacation rental key, a key moment, and I can hit the button and like keys will jingle. Rhonda gave us some keys there. That goes back to one of our earlier podcasts of finding ways to take care of guests.
And again, collaboratively with your competition. And the interior design session she's referring to is Jessica Duce, I believe is how you pronounce her last name, of J. Duce Designs. But I'm key, if you were to ring the little key, I also learned a valuable design lesson, which anyone can do, and it is through AI. So I learned in one of the sessions that to encourage owners to update or upgrade their homes, you can take their current picture, so a picture you have of any of the room, you can put it into ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT to make changes based on updated appliances, new ceiling fans, new light fixtures, new paint coat, and it'll generate a picture for you of what that property could look like. And that's what then you can send to owners and say, this is what your property could look like if you made X, Y, and Z upgrades.
Wow, AI pictures. I can just see an owner saying, well, just post that picture. But that's really a great point, Tiffany. And it's a perfect example of how we can leverage AI in the space, whether it's the Women's Summit or the upcoming Data and Revenue Management Conference. Amy really does an amazing job pulling together cutting edge content, especially when it comes to tech.
And there's no surprise that tech was definitely one of the major themes at this conference. And let me tell you, the rapid pace of change in this industry is wild. We saw a change over the last decade, but now it is exponential. We learned that soon reservations could end up being negotiated bot to bot. Yeah, you heard that right, Tim. Bot to bot. And they'll be negotiating the prices between themselves.
Wow, that's a whole new level of automation. We're officially living in the future, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And I also learned that Google has free features where you can actually generate your own apps. And then there's this whole idea of virtual worlds with virtual assistants, which I'm not taking advantage of enough. But soon we might be interacting with our guests in virtual spaces. And I'm sure it won't be too long before that's the new norm.
I hear you, but I'm going to stick to my belief that AI will never fully replace the people on the ground. You need us still. You can't replace that human touch. Personal connection we bring to the experience is really important.
I totally agree with you, Tim. And luckily, so does our tech expert and good friend, the CEO of Beyond Pricing, Julie Brinkman.
If you think about like 12 months ago, even maybe a little bit further back, 18 months ago, you had these property managers also trying to be tech companies. And that's really fallen apart, right? Property managers are, I think, really now starting to understand that their focus, their love, their passion is in hospitality, is in treating owners and guests right, is making sure that both experiences are top notch and that they need to leverage like emerging technologies to make their businesses run faster, better, smoother, and then ultimately earn more money. Obviously, I'm biased because we have a revenue management tool. And, you know, not to be super buzzwordy, but like AI is like changing the game. I mean, I'm a little bit scared for the fact that the world might end, but at the same time, ChatGPT has saved my life. If you ever like have no ideas for what to do for dinner, ask ChatGPT. It's incredible. But that's not why we're here. That's not what we're supposed to be talking about.
Actually, I was going to ask you how, because this is something I would continue to ask a lot of people here, is what are some things from AI that you've done to simplify your work life or your home self life?
So like personally, I haven't done enough, but like stuff like that, I'll try not to curse. You know, my in-laws are coming to town. My father-in-law is Sicilian. I'm like, put together a Sicilian menu for me. And I did that printable menu, grocery list, just like that. And so I think the analog here though, is that property managers, our customers tend to like have 1,000 jobs. They have tons of units. They have very few employees. And so we are leveraging AI in our tool to make their lives easier, not because it's sexy or it's going to drive evaluation, but because we can really tie all the data together to answer a question very, very quickly when you have an owner on the phone who wants to know why they took that reservation or why Christmas isn't booked. So that's the stuff that we're really thinking about and pushing on. And that is what's really, I think, going to bust the doors open and helping property managers truly scale their business. Because we know like there's no real scale to be found in these local operations, because they require local maintenance. They require local cleaning. However, to the extent that you can streamline your technology, you should do that. You should use technology such that you can really make sure that your maintenance is top notch, your cleaning is top notch, all those things that really give you that guest favorite rating, which everyone's also talking about now, that versus Superhost on Airbnb being a thing.
And what are you seeing has been the biggest trend from revenue perspective from last year to this year?
Dude, this year's wild. So it's been great. January and February were tragic. And I was like ready to just, I was like, if we have another 23 and 24, like I'm done. I'm hanging it up. I'm just like
looking for another industry to participate.
This sucks. Like, I love travel, but y'all are killing me. And we're like percentage based most of the time. And so we ride and die with
so
this,
what the market's doing.
And our investors don't love to be told that the market's down.
Yeah.
But as soon as like March, Easter being later really helped. It really extended spring break. But man, these guests are waiting until the last minute. But we released some new algorithmic enhancements. I'll try not to be too jargony here that have been able to really capture like the highest value price that these last minute guests are booking. So instead of just like discounting like everyone does last minute discounts, like we're holding prices and people are getting these prices, but those booking windows are like 24 days. It feels like post-COVID again. I don't know if you're seeing that in your company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like across the board. It's like every market in the US, it's like this. I'm a little nervous for what fall will yield. Like I think people are going to wait a little bit longer to book the Thanksgiving and the Christmases. So also don't panic. It's going to come. But I think September might be a little softer than we are used to like experiencing.
Okay. Another great key and valuable insight. You really were working the room, weren't you?
The gift of gab, Tim.
And folks, I cut out some stuff.
Okay, Tim, I have to switch gears. Now that we're laughing, are you ready to laugh just a little bit more?
Always. I know where you're going with this.
I cannot stop laughing when I'm with these two. I was able to track down our absolute favorite couple in the industry, outside of you and Deb, of course, but our longtime listeners, Lance and Elaine Stitcher of Seaside Vacations.
And when you say you tracked them down, you mean on the elevator and barred them from going to the room?
Well, I'm not really sure, Tim, how you found out that information, but I also will not confirm or deny holding them hostage to get this interview. But I am very excited to introduce them to this side of the podcast.
Well, my kids know, and now you do, that I have eyes and ears everywhere. Lance actually inspired me to help kick off this podcast. He mentioned that he always waited for every other Monday to drop an episode, and I wasn't there. So I'm eager to hear what my bud Lance and Elaine has to say about this year's Women's Summit.
So I'm really been able to get in touch with my feelings this week, but I need to go do some guy stuff. So the sessions were amazing. The speakers were amazing. 2 women's summits in a row. One of my favorite sessions was led by by you.
Oh, thanks. I didn't pay him to say that.
But the nutrition stuff and people in our industry don't always have they don't think to stop and take care of their own bodies, which is really, really important. Otherwise, you'll never make it through what has just become our daily grind. But no, the speakers were great. The sessions were on point. The sponsor support was great. Amy puts on a well-run show. Yeah. So tip of the hat to Amy Heine for doing this again. This is my 3rd Women's Summit, I believe. And
what was the most surprising from this year?
Ooh, the most surprising.
Besides Monica Lewinsky.
Well, Monica was a very powerful speaker.
Wow.
I mean, look, she she killed it.
She did.
All of the speakers were good. Maybe the destination, because you're not going to find food. The food in Charleston is amazing, and just the Southern hospitality and the feeling of hospitality amongst this group.
Oh, I like that. Okay. What was your most surprising? What did you take away the most?
Not surprising, but my favorite part is that there are no filters on this event, if you notice that.
And language.
No editing. Right. Say
so
what you
much
feel.
language.
Exactly.
And you feel good about it.
Yep.
You
And
walk
it's
away
all-
feeling good
it's
about it.
Just out there. It was absolutely incredible. As always, we loved everything about it. And Lance needs a few more of these because his sensitivity training is still in progress.
He's into poetry now.
Yeah.
He's taking on a new career.
But it was fabulous. He did miss Tim. That came up several times.
So is there anything that, because y'all go to so many conferences, is there anything at this point that you even come to a conference that you go, I'm going to take this back from a business perspective, or is there anything like personal that you take back? Because I do feel like Women's Summit does focus a lot more on like a personal growth, but
It does definitely. And I agree with what Lance says about we don't take enough time to take care of ourselves because we're taking care of everyone else. We brought our guest experience manager this time, Jess, and to see her absolutely light up at every single part of this conference. She's never experienced anything like this before, and it was just incredible for her.
The content, going back to the content, you could go to a new conference every single month right now, and with the acceleration of the maturity of AI, you will not hear the same thing twice. AI is just improving at such a rapid rate that it's not possible to keep up with it.
Oh, that's a good takeaway. Okay. Well, thank y'all so much. Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for the E&T hat.
You're welcome.
It's awesome. Tim, maybe I'll see you wearing yours.
Any last words? Yeah, Tim hasn't even gotten one yet.
I know.
So we'll hold that over. We'll hold that over for a little bit longer. Yeah, Tim, I bet you didn't know that I was off giving nutrition lessons.
Fitting. How many miles did you run today?
Just a few. But it is really important. A lot of times we overlook how essential it is to take care of ourselves, and then we can take care of others.
Love that.
Yeah.
It is so overlooked. Back to the hamster wheel. We're really not on a hamster wheel. We're at a desk poking away at a computer, not necessarily eating lunch every day and not necessarily taking care of ourselves. So I'm glad you did that. And you are apt to do that. So I'm glad. And maybe we can do a whole episode on that in the future.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Well, nutrition was really important, but we've talked about tech, we've talked about hospitality being themes, but I feel like the number one theme that came up over and over again throughout the summit, whether we were talking about any of the tech or hospitality that I just mentioned, or leadership or personal growth, it was the thought around an action around resilience.
Yeah, I heard that word pop up a lot in the recaps and posts, and it really seemed to hit home for everyone there.
Yeah, Kirsten touched on this earlier, but one of the most powerful moments for me was hearing Angie Leone from Coconut Condo speak. She shared her experience about navigating the devastating Lahaina fires, her being in there, having to leave her home and then managing these homes that had been destroyed. And it wasn't just about her experience through the business challenges. It was also about the emotional and mental shift she had to make to keep moving forward, both as a leader and as a human being.
I can only imagine that kind of loss and still finding the strength to rebuild and adapt. That is next level courage.
Yeah, her story was a reminder that in this industry and honestly in life, things can change in an instant. And it's our resilience, not just our strategy, not just the tech, and not just the hospitality that determines how we come out on the other side.
That's powerful. And I think something that everyone needs to hear.
Exactly. And it's easy to get caught up in these tools, but I think that Linda Taylor of the original company, Mountain Lake Rentals, which became the largest rental company in the Deep Creek, Maryland area, Rayleigh Mountain Lake Rentals, has the best closing thoughts on this topic of resilience.
And we have to share that Linda is the mother of Jody Rafosco, who was a Vacation Rental Women's Summit Pioneer Award winner and a former and current president of the Vacation Rental Managers Association. Jody started her own successful vacation rental business following in her mother's footsteps.
One of the things that I liked was the concept of repop.
Oh, what Angie said. Yes.
We did that. You did that.
Yes.
10 years, that's pretty darn close.
Yes.
Every 13 years, we got a new career.
Yeah. Yeah. And the basics were still there. You just grew out. I like the idea of you growing out of a pot and that you read.
Yeah.
It's
really a great idea.
Well, I don't think there's a better way to end for today.
I agree, but maybe we give the listeners a little hint of our next episode, especially because it was inspired by the Vacation Rental Women's Summit. Our next episode, we're going to share a little bit about hospitality heroes. We've touched in previous podcasts about how important it is to have processes in place in times of natural disasters, but those always relate to our owners and our guests. And the core of this summit was about hospitality in your business, in the culture, and taking care of not only yourself, but your employees. And so Hospitality Heroes is really doing that. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper there.
Well, I am very proud of your man on the street efforts in Charleston. You did a fantastic job. And we want to thank Kirsten King, Rhonda Sedaris, Julie Brinkman, Lance and Elaine Stitcher, and of course, Linda Taylor for making an appearance on today's episode of the Vacation Rental Key with TNT. Wonderful job. Can't wait for the next episode. So long, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.